This month is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and in honor of that occasion, we wanted to take a moment to sit down with Dr. Susana Reyes, one of our esteemed board members, to talk about her journey into leadership, the role of culture and identity in education, and her vision for supporting Hispanic and multilingual students across the state. Dr. Reyes joined the board back in March of 2019, and just a few months ago, she was elected by her fellow board members to serve on the board's executive committee. She is a superintendent of the Shoreline Public Schools and is currently serving as president of the Washington Latino Administrators and Superintendents Association. Dr. Susana, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
I think a great way to start us off here is to really start at the beginning of your story. I'm curious to learn who some of the mentors and role models are who have sort of inspired your journey into leadership and where you are now.
I think for many of us who are in leadership roles, there are a number of different people who either have crossed paths with us along the way or who have been instrumental, but in one way or another have contributed to where we are now. We often talk about who we stand on the shoulders of. And typically, for many of us, that is our family or previous family members whom we may not have met, but we know of who maybe were leaders in their lifetime, whether professionally or as within their family structure. And of course, both my mom and dad are key figures for me. They are incredibly strong people who made decisions early in life on behalf of their children to work really hard to get us to a place where we could achieve whatever dreams we had for ourselves, dreams that they could only truly just dream of. It was just very difficult and not possible for them um, to be able to fulfill maybe what they would have envisioned for themselves. And so coming to this country at a very young age was a very difficult decision that I think both of them had to make to give us the best opportunity to be able to achieve our dreams. So my mom and dad are incredible humans that continue to affect me, impact me, guide me, support me, cheer me on, and keep me honest as well. They are very uh, wonderful in the way that they advise me um, and how they listen to my experience in my current role. But they're also really wonderful about reminding me of, our journey, like how long it took us and the kind of work that we had to do to make sure that we could be in a place where we are. So my mom and dad are two key people. And as I shared earlier, there are so many other people in all of our lives that support us, colleagues and teachers and other family members. And I think as I saw the question, some people that come to my mind are obviously my elementary school teachers, like Mrs. St. Mary, my fifth grade teacher, my math teacher in high school, Mr. Grasso, who helped me really think about actual college experience for me that I didn't even know could ever be a possibility. And there's so many other teachers, like they aren't the only ones, right? They're like across the board, K or first grade through 12th grade for me. There's so many. Professors in college also were incredibly impactful for me. One person that I stay in touch with that I really get to connect with on somewhat of a regular basis, who continues to be an incredible champion of mine and mentor, Dr. Jean Sherritt, who is an incredible leader in our state and has been a mentor for so many of us. He's been critical for me, and other professors in my various programs along the way, like Dr. Dennis Ray in my superintendent's credentialing program, Dr. Mimi Wolverton in my master's program, and just so many other people along the way, and colleagues, former colleagues, like Dr. Irene Gonzalez, who was a principal in Yakima, Washington with the Yakima School District when I was taking some time off of school and working in a school office, and I came across her and I thought, she's a principal. I want to be a principal one day. And then fast forward, we're like become really great friends. We actually did our doctorate together. So people like that are mentors, role models, um, who have come across my path that have contributed to where I am today. And they don't leave you. They're part of of who you are now in terms of the work that I do. I think about them a lot.
Well, my gosh, what an impressive network of folks that you've cultivated over the years. I think that that's a testament really to the great work that you've done and really both the breadth and the depth of that work. You had a really good quote in there about how every experience and every person we meet shapes us. And in your case, shapes you both as a human being, but also professional. And especially, you credited your parents. I'd love to learn more about how those experiences have shaped and impacted your work that you've done both here on the board, but perhaps also in other areas of work that you've accomplished over your career so far.
You know, Many people know that my family, we were farm workers. For many of us who come from a different country, I came from Mexico, to come live in the United States. The opportunities for us here were made possible by the I don't know, by the way in which we could find work, or my parents could find work so that we could attend school. But back in the day, uh, us as children joined our parents out in the fields during the summers, on spring break, sometimes in the fall, during harvest season with apples and pears, and all of those experiences, working, really hard to be able to have food on the table and be able to pay our bills, and for us to be able to contribute to the greater good of our overall community, in that way, I think is is part of how I identify as not only as a professional, but also as a human being who has worked really hard alongside our family to be able to be where we are. So I think the work that we did over the years from when I was, I don't know, middle school through high school and beyond really helped us. I think obviously work ethic was already, I think, innate in us. It wasn't the work that helped us have good work ethic, but there's an appreciation for the opportunity, an appreciation for the vision of, what else, we might be able to aspire for or toward. And our schooling and our education sort of took care of that. It's kind of an all-inclusive experience that molds who we are, along the way. Everything matters, every experience and every person, and the connections that we build along the way, whether it's through farm work and all the orchardists that we got to know, or through school and all of the educators who helped us, to the present with our colleagues and the people we work with on a daily basis.
I want to shift us here just a little bit to talk about your role in education. You're in a very high level role now. You've been doing this work for a long time. And I'm curious to hear what you see as some of the biggest opportunities for us to improve educational outcome for Hispanic and multilingual students across the state.
I think, and we try to do this with our work with with the state board work, engaging our communities, listening, hearing from them, learning about what the struggles are, where are the structures within our system that sometimes can be barriers, getting a real understanding of what that is, so that as we as a board or as educators, even in the seats as either teachers or administrators, um, um, can be informed of how we might adjust our systems. Um, there isn't one single right way to do this, right? We know that our students can take a number of different pathways to reach whatever goal they have in mind, whatever is going to bring them the greatest joy, whatever is going to help them feel the most successful, whatever is going to feel the most fulfilling and rewarding and satisfying for their future. And so, um, to me, the way to get to that is to engage in conversation and dialogue, and in and inviting opportunities for people to share, whether it's students via student panels or different community groups via different community forums. And I know that over the years, our state board team has worked really hard, along with obviously our state board staff, who helps us get everything in place, to have worked really hard to learn from the various communities across our state, so that as we engage in work like Future Ready, whatever comes from that work is going to reflect not only the needs that we know we need to meet, but also the spirit of our community. What's important to our families and our students and our staff across our state.
Thank you for sharing that. And I really appreciate the call out to some of the work that the board's been doing around community engagement. It's a big piece of what we do here. And I, of course, appreciate the hand that you've had in supporting that work. So kudos to you there. I want to shift us just a little bit. Throughout this conversation, we've been talking about the people that you've met and the things that you've done. And I'm curious to know, what are you most proud of? What are some of the things that stick out most to you?
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is that no matter where I have been, I like to believe that I have contributed in a way that has impacted our students in the classroom. Whether it's an individual student who's trying to get through high school and I get to be their mentor, as I have in previous roles, or connecting with the family member who's struggling to understand our system that I might be able to help them with. To me, those can be seen as almost like little things, but to me, those are the thing, is how do we individually impact our students? And so I think that's truly, it is one of the areas that I'm most proud of, those connections, those personal connections that I can make with different people in our systems. In every role that I've been in, I feel like I've had experiences like that, that ultimately, kind of selfishly, end up making me feel like, oh, I got to help. And it makes me feel good, right? That's where that whole rewarding and satisfying sort of emotion comes in, when you feel like you've made a difference for someone. Um, and I'm really proud of that, because I know people and young people who have been able to achieve. And I know that I had a little bit of influence, just a tad, enough that, whether it's helped them get them across the line, or now they have their master's degree, or their doctorate, right? Because of a conversation, or me making time to listen and help chart out a path, for example. So to me, that is probably the thing that I'm most proud of, is that individual connection.
Thank you for that really good answer. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. It's hard to tell in the moment what kind of impact you're going to have on somebody. Even, with a small gesture or a piece of advice, all of those things really do add up, I think. And your answer to that question actually really segues into my final question. And that's, what advice you would give to a Hispanic student who is aspiring to become an educator themselves, and eventually even become a leader in education. What would you tell them?
I would say, and I've had this question actually asked of me recently, and as we're working on an upcoming conference for Wallace, that's one of the pieces of conversation, is one of the points in our mission, is to really foster growth and education professionals that include Latino students, or Latina students, or Latina students, or Hispanic students, right? Um, and what I would say is, if there's even just a little spark of like, oh, would I want to be a teacher, or would I want to be a principal, or another type of leader in education, central office, superintendent, which is the best job in the world. Just putting that out there, it's the best job in the world. Um, what I would say is, don't think twice, like jump in. This is a space where you belong. We need you. Our children need you. Think about the experiences you had that were great, and experiences that maybe fell short a little bit, and think about the opportunity you might have now to impact future generations of children. Because I believe in our state, we serve over 286,000, I believe, Latino students across our state. And, that's a lot of lives that need us, that we can support. And I know, and I've seen it myself when I'm out and about visiting with our students, in our school district and in previous districts. Children notice who's noticing them. They notice who is seeing them. And when they see someone that they feel familiar with, like familia, like, oh, it's a different experience for them. And it's so important during these times when we know that we're growing more and more diverse and the needs are there. So I would say go for it. Don't be afraid. There's so many people around you that can help you. Don't be afraid to ask questions and reach for the stars because they're just right there for you.